Hi, I'm Adam Morath, Executive Producer for Autoblog, and thanks for joining us here at our first live webcast at an auto show. We're at the 2016 North American International Auto Show in Detroit. I'm joined here by Editor-in-Chief Mike Austin and Editorial Program Manager David Gluckman for Autoblog. Thanks, guys. We're basically going to wrap up the show today with a little roundtable discussion. How's that sound?
Yeah.
All right,
great.
Cool. So we've got basically a rundown of all of the press events from today, and I think we've got to start with what kind of felt like the big news. It was the first news of the day, the minivan, Chrysler Pacifica. Is it okay to be this excited about a minivan? That's my question for you guys.
Yes, it is. I love minivans. I mean, they're kind of an unloved car. You know, they're derided in a lot of different ways, but they're really useful, and they sell a lot of them. And Chrysler in particular just makes them better every time, and I am a little bit excited about the new minivan. I'm not that excited about the name. They got rid of Town and Country in favor of Pacifica. It's very controversial.
Well, the old Pacifica was not good. It was like this bad crossover. 5-door wagon thing.
Right. So
was unloved.
So it sounds like overall we're not big fans of retiring the name. I'm just thinking I'm going to be so excited 10 years from now when they bring back the Town and Country at the Detroit Auto Show, and people are going to be pumped. Just like if you look at a lot of these names that they carry so much value for consumers.
Yeah.
Town and Country is really kind of an old school name, like a station wagon sounding name.
And they're getting rid of the Caravan, so they're wiping out all of that.
Both
old
of
brand.
their minivan brand cachet, like. It's strange. I grew up in those vans, so I have like a very close connection to the names. I think.
Well, I guess
maybe younger kids today don't know what they are.
That's true, and all the younger kids buying those minivans out there.
Yeah.
Okay, but real excitement for me is the hybrid. It's strange that they're just calling it a hybrid because they're all plug-ins. They can go 30 miles, which I feel like a lot of minivans are probably errand cars. Even small businesses that use minivans.
Sure.
They're going to get a lot out of that, and 80 miles per gallon on the electric is pretty close to not that far off of an actual EV.
Yeah, so they're calling it a hybrid. It's plug-in hybrid. Why not lead with plug-in?
That's a really good question, and we're going to try to figure that out. But I think it may be that maybe they did some kind of market research and plug-in the phrase plug-in scares people or something like that.
Yeah, it's a little intimidating or something like that.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to say is you can plug it in if you want to.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid all the time.
Right.
That may be the messaging there. It's again like the name, it's a little questionable on our end.
All right. Well, a couple other things with Pacifica. They've added some cool features. They've they brought in a couple of features that we've seen in other minivans, right? Like the second row being able to have 3 child seats across, similar to what we see from Honda. The vacuum cleaner now integrated into the van.
Right.
So what do we think of those? Are they a step behind, or this makes sense?
With the seat, I mean, that was kind of a knock with the Pacifica, or with any of the stow and go vans, is you really only had 2 seats, and if you wanted to fit 3 across, you couldn't do it, and the Honda could. The van, to me, I think it's genius. It says, we're not too proud to take the best features and put them in the car.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so moving on. Chevrolet. They went second today. Kind of a lighter show for Chevy. I mean, they've been known to make some big splashes here in Detroit. We are in the shadow of the Rensen here at the Autoblog booth. They showed us the Cruise hatchback. So hatchbacks, us automotive journalists are always asking for more hatchbacks. Are you guys that excited by this one, though?
I think it's good that they're going to offer it here, and it's one of those things where we ask for it, and then now we're going to question whether or not they're going to sell enough of them for them to keep it around.
Right.
So we can't be pleased that no matter what happens, but it looks all right. I think it's based on an Opel from Europe, so it wasn't a very difficult thing to bring over for them. But it's always good to have variety as far as shapes and sizes of cars are concerned.
I'm a little. To me, it's a little low-key. I know it's a huge car globally and in the U.S., and, hatchback is probably going to sell a little bit. I think other companies that have hatchbacks in that segment sell 20 to 25% in the, with that body style. But it was just like, here's a kind of regular economy car. I think it's attractive, but it doesn't stand out in any way.
Yeah.
So I was a little.
You guys like it in that orange paint? They brought everything here in orange.
Yeah, it's an orange show for Chevy.
It was a little confusing because they've also got the Bolt here. That's in orange hatchback, but that's pretty exciting. They've got the production Bolt, so they showed it last year as a concept, and now we've got the production model.
And they showed the Bolt at CES, which to me is
Right.
the more significant, the more exciting of the two cars, and it kind of speaks to how big CES has become.
That's true.
Which was
So,
just
Mike,
last
you were
week.
just at CES. How does it kind of compare to Detroit? I mean, people are saying CES is becoming more and more of an auto show.
A lot of people said that, and the show itself is totally unlike an auto show. Even the auto show booths or the automaker booths still had cars on the stand like we see here in Detroit, but there was a lot more interactive displays and showcasing of the technology. Whereas here they're talking about the technology in the cars, but it's still very much focused on the overall model. Like here's the entire package.
Technology
Look at it, a
and
shiny
stuff.
thing you're going to see.
From Chevrolet.
Yeah. So 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds lives up to the name Bolt. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, I was talking to Autoblog Green editor-in-chief Sebastian Blanco about that, because I don't have a really good feel for what a good 0 to 60 time is for a small electric car, because I don't really think that that's the metric that the buyers are really looking for.
Well, it's that instant torque you always hear pitched.
It can accelerate quickly,
right.
But if you want to get any appreciable distance in the car, you don't want to stomp on the accelerator
even
pedal.
the Leaf is slower than that. I think it's somewhere around 8 to 9 seconds to 60, and when you're driving at 0 to 30 is really quick.
Right.
That instant acceleration feels good. So under 7 is going to feel fast.
To some degree, that's kind of an engineering choice, right? Because if they're trying to get range out of it, they don't want to give you all that power right away, so they might limit it. But 7 seconds, I mean, that's pretty quick.
It is quick.
I think
it's quick-ish.
It's in line with the BMW i3.
Yeah.
Sebastian thinks that the Tesla Model 3, if it ever comes out, is going to be significantly quicker.
Well, that'll have maybe ludicrous mode and all of that. So
yeah.
All right, so moving on, we've got Audi. They had their H-Tron Quattro concept, so a hydrogen-powered car. What did we make of this?
So I was talking to some of the people from Audi about this earlier today, and so they've shown a Quattro concept that the same basic shape. The last time they showed it, it was an e-tron, meaning an electric vehicle. This time it's an H-tron, and I wanted to know what Audi's plans are with hydrogen. Basically, what they're showing is the fact that they're thinking about hydrogen as a possibility in around 2020 if infrastructure and regulations move things that way. So they're more saying that they can do it if they need to, or if that's the way things move. But I think in the near term, they're more focused on normal electric vehicles and hybrids and things of that nature.
And more focused on e-tron then.
And for me, I question hybrid lately because
hydrogen.
Hydrogen. I like hybrid. I question hydrogen because you have to do something. The hydrogen doesn't move in itself. You either have to put it into very heavy storage containers, or reform it out of natural gas. There's inefficiency there, and the greenness of it goes away. Or you need a lot of electricity just to break water back into hydrogen and oxygen. So for me, I question who's asking for this? Where's it going? And it seems to be pushed mostly by governments who see it as this green zero emission thing, but the practical reality of how you get the hydrogen into the car, I don't think is ever going to get as rosy as everyone makes it out to be.
Sure. So also from the Audi booth, they're bringing back the all-road. It's an A4 all-road now. So I was excited about that. I've always been a fan of the all-road. It just kind of has that almost like Playmobil station wagon, German. I'm glad to see it return to the U.S. As an A4, I think it makes a lot of sense because you get the additional utility from a wagon. But what's your guys' take?
Yeah, I mean, this is just the new all-road based on the newest A4, and the message there is that the A4 has all this technology and all the bells and whistles basically that are being offered in the Q7. So that's virtual cockpit and all those kinds of things. And this is just basically the wagon form like we saw in the last generation. So it's got a little more ground clearance than the sedan. It looks a little more kind of off-road oriented, but it's good for people who live in snowy states.
And we're still getting the wagon. The A4 I think was always kind of a main. Seeing A4 wagons on the street is kind of like a mainstay of Audi history. And this one, like the one before it has that big taller grille. I think it's the best looking A4 for sure.
So why base it on an A4 instead of A6 platform or wait for a new A6?
A4 has grown a little bigger, and you can charge a premium. You're not going to get up to the price of the A6-based A4, relative if you inflation and all that. But you can still charge a really heavy premium on an A4.
Okay. So
That's my guess.
Speaking of Volkswagen Group, we had the Tiguan GTE. So this is sort of a hybrid model. So I'm noticing Audi, VW, we're not talking about TDI. Is that maybe purposeful that they brought these other sorts of alternative fuel cars to the show here?
Well, going back to CES, that was the keynote that they had. Was they apologized profusely for diesel and then made almost an abrupt shift. If you think about 6 months ago, that was the way forward for them is all electrification. So I think this is an early step. They're trying to get it into the cars in the showroom as quick as they can.
Yeah, I mean, just the Tiguan GTE active concept, it's a mouthful, but it looks kind of cool. It's got these big fender flares and like BF Goodrich off-road tires and stuff like that. The hybrid technology, plug-in hybrid technology in that one is probably what is going to, more quickly move to a production model, but I just like the way that the thing looks.
Yeah, it was very cool looking. So staying on the German theme, from Mercedes, we had their all-new E-Class.
Yes.
What did you think, Mike?
Putting me on the spot. I like it. I saw an early technology preview over the summer, and it's just loaded up. I can't even remember. I think it's something like 9 cameras and like 6 radar sensors. This week they just announced that it can drive on the existing hardware on the production car, can drive on Nevada in an autonomous mode, and all they're doing is opening up the software to give it some extra programming or allow leeway that they're not ready to give the average consumer yet. I think that just speaks to how close we are to autonomous cars. And it's another example, this has happened a few times in the past, it's another example where they're not leading with the flagship. We're not waiting for the next S-Class. We're getting the technology now because it's ready in this car that's coming out.
And it's kind of trickling down from the S-Class, right? Some of this tech.
Yeah, but some of it's jumping ahead.
Yeah, some of it's new even before the S-Class gets it. So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, we also saw the SLC, which is replacing the outgoing SLK. What did you guys think of the styling, in particular, of that car?
It's kind of basically a mid-cycle refresh of the SLK with a new name, just kind of following the new sort of modified naming scheme that Mercedes has kind of developed recently. And SLC is actually an old name for a coupe version of the SL that they used to make. It's all very confusing. I'm confused myself. Anyway, you asked about the styling of the car. I'm sorry. It looks good. I mean, I think it looks a little nicer than the SLK that came before it. It's that's not a huge market and it doesn't sell a lot. It's fine.
It's a little bit newer.
They'll sell as many as they sell now, and
got it.
Everything will be great.
All right, so they also had another convertible, the S65 AMG Cabriolet.
Basically the most expensive version of the two-door S-Class that you can buy.
That to me makes the least sense. I do like the V12 of the big convertible. I think there's just something really over-the-top ostentatious, like you almost want to put bullhorns on the hood and drive it around Texas. But for me, the 65 was always too much. It's trying to be sporty. That's not really a car that you're going to take to the track. They put it there because people in Beverly Hills want to drive the car that's most expensive.
It's a badge
it's
thing.
the AMG badge.
Yeah.
All right, so rounding out the Germans, we had BMW. We got a real new M car, M2. So personally, I think this is pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to driving this car. I was a fan of the 1 Series. I know it's kind of a heavier car, but I think if you add a little bit of that M power to it, it's going to be really fun to drive.
So, yeah, I think the 2, to me, is the most – everything I like about old BMWs. And the 3 drifted away a little bit, and then they just updated it. And apparently it got better. I drove it a little bit. David drove it on a launch.
Yeah, the 3 Series is moving back towards where it used to be. It's not exactly there yet. But with the M2, I think, like you're saying, it was more close to what we loved about, previous, BMWs in general and M cars in particular.
So they've pretty much filled out all of the numbers now at this point. Is it starting to feel like a little bit cluttered, or does their lineup kind of make sense to you the way that it's fleshing out?
It's like Chipotle. I mean, you can get every size and every combination and every flavor. Like they have a X4 M40i now, which is so. This is all of the cars now have this half step to M.
Right.
It's not quite. It's not an X4M. It's just. Does this make any sense? I guess I'm confused.
Well, that's what I wonder is if consumers going into a showroom they're going in knowing specifically this is the model that I want, or they kind of have to feel it out.
I think that what they figured out is that people want a car that says M on it. They don't necessarily want a car that was designed and engineered by all of the M people.
And
this is the way they charge a little bit more for a little bit more horsepower, kind of that, like you're saying, the half step between an X4 and the X4M that doesn't exist
with the
yet.
M package.
And if we're going to be cynical,
Exactly.
they want a BMW and they want to know what the lease rate is.
So the M40i is kind of more of that half step, right?
Exactly, yeah. The X4.
All right, well, that gets us about halfway through the day. Then we're on to Volvo, which showed us the S90. So exciting. The S90 sedan, also the XC90, which won the North American Truck of the Year award this morning. Mike, I know you're on the panel, right?
Yes.
So let's hear a little bit about that.
It's this whole package. Like, it's beautiful. And I don't say that a lot about SUVs, and I am generally biased against SUVs. And you look at the thing, and it looks distinctive. It's got all these great little details, like they call it, like the Thor hammer.
Yes,
and the daytime
love
running
that.
lights. You get in the interior, and it's it's better than a lot of $100,000 cars. It's got the beautiful Sensus infotainment display that it works quick, and it's got a good layout. So it's mostly around that. Like, it looks good and it feels good, but it also drives really well. They have a couple of hybrids. I didn't get to drive the T6, the bigger twin-charged engine, but just impressive car, especially for Volvo. I think there's a little bit of cheering for the comeback kid there, but it was totally worthy.
David, what did you make of Volvo's booth this year?
I mean, the S90 is a really nice-looking, flagship sedan, and I think we're all interested, especially after the experience, like Mike said, with the XC90. It was, it's a beautiful car. It's got a great interior. It's got the infotainment and all that kind of stuff. So we're excited to take a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got much more coming up today. At 3:50 p.m., you're going to have our press conference where we give away our award, the Automotive Technology of the Year. And this year, we're splitting that between a feature and an overall car. So please join us then. For now, signing off for David and Mike, I'm Adam Morath for Autoblog. Thanks.